we're live.
Yay.
I feel it's weird. You have to like really punch the blue button to get it to do the final thing.
Yeah, you have to get forceful.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to CoreCon Cube's third interview with the delightful Levi Jacobs, who is currently in the back of a semi-trailer in Idaho?
In Kellogg, Idaho. You can
Kellogg,
see it
Idaho.
at the back at a Walmart.
There you go. Because he's fancy and that's where he hangs out. My
preferred interview spot is actually here in Kellogg in the parking lot.
He drove all the way there just for this.
It's quirky like that.
So I'm actually, I have us in, I had us full screen, but that is a terrible idea because I need to be able to see my notes. Way to go, Virginia. So Levi Jacobs was a finalist for the, I don't know what's wrong with me. He was also a semi-finalist.
So insulting.
I know. Was a fellow finalist for Spiffo 5 and is a very talented author. I make a goal of reading everyone's books before these interviews due to extenuating circumstances. I am only about 25% into Beggar's Rebellion.
It's a long book.
But no, it's not that it's a long book. It's that I only started it the day before yesterday. I read the night before last for an hour before I fell asleep, and then I read last night for another hour before I fell asleep. But it's been not like the chillest time in my life lately, so
totally
reading has not been an easy thing for me to stay on top of. But anyway, so I'm sorry that I haven't read all of it, but I really, really enjoyed the 25% that I've been reading. I freaking love Ella. And I don't know how I feel about Ty yet, but I enjoy reading him. I just don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if I actually like him
as
yet.
a person.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You can kind of paint him as like a child gang running drug dealer in one sense, but a very moral one.
I'm getting the sense that he's, that he cares for his people, which I like, but
he just, makes kids work for money selling drugs.
Well, I mean, he seems like he's not left with a lot of options. So I am not judging him. I'm just saying I don't know yet. I also seriously, I've only spent like one chapter with him at this point. And,
totally.
And in that first chapter, he did some weird stuff running around. Like it was just not like it was cool. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the chapter. I just, like I said, I do not have enough evidence to be like, I really like Ty. I love Ella so far.
I'm glad.
I've loved everything I've seen about her. I mean, I think she's a complicated character with flaws, but I really enjoyed spending time with her. But yeah, like Ty, I'm like, he's cool. He's a cool character. I enjoy reading him. I don't know how I feel about him personally.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I would, withholding judgment. So anyway, but we're not going to talk about your books just yet because first we have some really important questions to get through.
Right. Mm-hmm. Here on CoreCon Cube, we get to the hard topics.
Hard-hitting questions.
Mm-hmm.
For those who are unfamiliar with the format so far, I Facebook stalk whoever I'm interviewing. And luckily, so far, they've all been actual friends of mine, so this is less creepy than it sounds. And then I use that Facebook stalking to inspire specific questions for interviews. So,
which is interesting for me because I have kind of been off Facebook for a few years. Not that my interesting years aren't behind me, but there's still, I guess, interesting stuff on there.
The thing is, it's kind of a permanent record. That stuff never really goes away.
Oh God, it's like a permanent record for genres.
Yeah.
Except they're not on it,
So basically, whatever these questions, you brought them on yourself. Is kind of what I'm getting.
I had no idea when I was 23 and doing those terrible things and posting pictures that it would come back to haunt.
That it was all gonna haunt you later. I mean, the good news is it's not. I'm not trying to this is not a political platform where you're trying to gain votes or anything.
Not yet. I mean,
whatever. Okay, well, you do you, man. But but right now we're just talking about you as a person and a little bit as an author, just so people can get to know you better. So, doesn't matter. Besides, like, I didn't bring up any of the suspicious stuff. I didn't even ask, like, I don't know if you saw the Rob interview. I asked him if it was true that he'd gotten high and made out with a snake, and I don't have anything that risque on here.
Totally. My intoxicated animophilia photos got removed a long time ago.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've done a better job making sure that stuff doesn't stay on your Facebook, so you reap the rewards of that now. So let's get right started. Get right started.
Hard hitting stuff.
Get right to it and also get started. How many times have you dressed in drag? Approximately.
Okay, yeah, approximately. I mean, I like doing it, and probably more times than I can count on my fingers.
Okay,
yes,
cool.
I didn't really even realize there were that many photos of it on Facebook, but apparently there are. I mean,
there are enough photos that it was clear to me that you had done it multiple times. That was. I was excited because I asked the same question of Darian, and it turned out he hadn't actually ever dressed in drag.
What?
Right?
Okay. Our good friend Darian talks about wearing bustiers and all kinds of interesting stuff.
He talks a big talk.
I don't think he's all talk,
turned out he hadn't actually done it, and I was disappointed.
I mean, he is theoretically my nemesis, so I am glad that I'm walking the walk versus talking the talk.
But
no,
we love Darian very much. And he's a wonderful human being, and he has worn heels a few times, which is cool. And he has a good friend who does drag, and we talked about that a bit. But yeah, I was all excited to ask him about it, and then it turned out he hadn't actually ever dressed in drag yet. So we obviously have to fix that first of all.
Yes.
Assuming he's into it, but he sounded like he would be up for it. He's just like.
He'd be up for it.
His claim was that he didn't feel like he had the makeup applying ability to do it himself. And I said, well, then obviously you just need to let your drag friend, your drag buddy, do this for you, because that's obviously part of his skill set. And he admitted that was probably true. I don't know. I feel like we can make it happen once we can all get together. But in the meantime, back to you and your drag experiences. You enjoy it. That's awesome. You've done it more times than you can count on your hands. What's your favorite? I do have all 10
fingers. Well, I was gonna say on the topic of makeup, I feel like my best looking drag time was for about 10 years in my 20s. I had shoulder length hair.
Okay.
And for 4 years of that, it was blonde. And I had a girlfriend who was good at makeup. And also this was before digital cameras were very good. And I need to find this photo so I can post it in the comments or however we do it on YouTube. But I look just like Britney Spears. And I know you're looking like not so much, but I swear
you nailed it.
I was Britney Spears.
Amazing. I would like to see that picture. So yeah, please post it to the comments after.
I need to find it. I mean, maybe you didn't see it, maybe. Because I think you would have looked and gone,
I also don't really know what Britney Spears
Levi?
Looks like off the top of my head. So
it's true. And I don't it's different now than it used to be, I think.
Yeah. I don't know if I would have noticed necessarily.
I would say that my most proud drag time was a friend of mine, a South African friend, had a Tarts and Vickers party. Which these are not really terms that I know as an American, but I figured it out. And so I, of course, was a tart, because the idea is you don't go as your chosen gender. And I shaved for it in not this, but my legs especially. And I felt pretty sexy.
Nice. Good.
Yeah. Right. There were some people hitting on me. So I was like, cool.
Awesome.
I guess.
Yeah. Success. All right.
Yeah. It felt good.
All right. That's awesome. That's always nice. I mean, that's one of the things that I like about just dressing up is feeling sexy for a little while. And it's and I don't do that very often, but it's a nice feeling,
Oh, I'm such a boring person, in clothes normally. This is my fruit costume, but okay,
it's
I'm
also just
illuminated by brilliant radiation. But I just wear some very boring normal clothes
You
all
look
the
very
time.
Boulder right now, I must say, because you're wearing
Okay.
socks and Tevas. Like, come on.
Well, no, don't blame me for socks. Those
Oh
are
wait, no,
feet.
no, they're no socks. Okay, it just looked like it for a second. But Tevas and shorts. Like,
Yeah, totally.
It's pretty Boulder.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been there for a few years, but
pretty front range.
guilty as
Period.
charged.
Doesn't have to be.
Yeah,
Boulder.
totally. I'm like ready to exercise at any moment. That's the Boulder look. It's like I just got out of the yoga studio. Dude, I just got done rock climbing. It was epic. Yeah, now that I live in Denver, like 30 miles away, I can feel like kind of bitter and make fun of them, even though I love
Don't. You like there's no reason to make fun. It's the bitterness is jealousy.
It is, yeah, because now like really nobody looks like they go to the gym where I live because they don't.
Yeah. I mean I poke a little bit of loving fun at Boulder, but I miss living in the Front Range, and
because you went to school there too, or you live there?
I went to school in Colorado Springs,
Okay.
high school, but
Dang,
I know,
man, the Springs is a very different place.
it is a very different place, but I went to the one
Yeah.
little like liberal bastion,
thank
not the
God.
one like there's Manitou, of course, and then there's
Yeah.
but I went to this little like very secular high school that
Nice.
was so it was nice. It was cool. I actually really enjoyed those years, and I spent a lot of time just like disappearing in the mountains to go exercise in various forms, but not for exercise, but to go hike and go rock climb and go.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't rock climb when I was in high school, but I do now. But anyway,
Man, the best exercise is the one that you get when you're not trying to. Like,
yeah.
I'm a big bike rider just because I can actually do things. Like,
Yeah.
I hate a treadmill, hate some barbells, but I love getting my heart up when I'm going somewhere or doing something. Actually, just because it's fun, and I'm here, I'm going to show you my bike strapped to the back of my semi.
You got your bike strapped to the back of the semi.
I did just jump down. Yeah, I do, because I realized like life is so much better when you have a bicycle. So
Yes, that's true.
I'm pretty proud of this rig. See if I can switch the camera over. We can keep talking meanwhile. It's not that cool. Okay, so here's the semi.
Nice. It's back. It's attached to the back of the cab. That's awesome.
Yeah, totally. I just like strap it on, and then I climb up there, and then the wheel is in that thing.
Gotcha.
And my helmet, of course, because I'm responsible.
Very good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet.
Dedicated
So then you
biker.
have a bike to get around wherever you are when you're doing this gig.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Cool.
I feel like I've completely derailed the questions. We need to stay on topic here.
Okay, well,
Let's focus, Virginia.
So while we're talking about
I'm gonna
this
climb
gig,
up again and almost die. Oh God.
Oh, are you
Okay.
okay?
I'm doing it. I swear. Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
You know what's weird? I think I accidentally didn't include the question about the fruit. But tell me about this fruit gig, because I am so curious. You spend, was it 3 months, 4 months?
Yeah, pretty much 3 months. As
3
long
months.
as like cherries and peaches taste good.
Okay,
Um,
great.
Yeah.
So 3 months, and you're shuttling fruit from Washington to the Dakota.
Yeah. From Washington mostly, and some from Western Montana, because there's this like beautiful lake up there called Flathead Lake, and it's so big that they can grow cherries on the eastern side because the water makes the temperature mild enough, and prevailing winds are from the west.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I fell into this gig as I was in grad school and dreaming about writing fiction instead of being an academic, and so I dropped out after I got my master's to do so. Yay!
You dropped out after you got your master's.
Well, it was like a master's on way to PhD kind of program. With the master's in cultural anthropology,
where they all like expect you to stick around for the PhD, and you
or to go somewhere else. They're like, you should think about other schools, but they were not thinking that I was going to drop out. Not quite as dramatic as Joseph Campbell, who I really admire for like just needing to write his dissertation. He's like, nah, I'm going to hole up in the woods for 5 years and like come up with something that people actually care about. Hopefully I'm doing that too. I don't know. That's a long way of saying I dropped out, wanted to write fiction, didn't know how to make money, and spent a year being very poor, living in a laundry room. And then
in a laundry room?
Yeah. Okay. I found a house for my friends. Boulder has this like it's not harem, like brothel law that more than 3 unrelated people can't live in the house. And so of course we had 7 unrelated people there.
Yeah.
Yeah, to make things cheap because it is Boulder. And I found it and wanted the cheapest rent, so we took the machines out of the laundry room, and that's where I lived.
Okay, so you
were
weren't
moving
actually
around
like
too. This
living
is so
on
fun.
top of a dryer. You were.
No, I was living where the dryer used to be, and there were still like hookups and like water and stuff in my room. But I like living small. I live in a semi now. You know, it's all good.
Right. Yeah.
This is a long way of saying that I wanted to make money and couldn't. So I spent that year in poverty writing my first novel and a bunch of short stories. First novel doesn't exist on the internet. Maybe it will someday. And then kind of saw this opportunity to do fruit. And so I tried it and it worked. It was very scary because it was like 8 times as much as I owed to grad school to get started, but I just did it.
Did you have to buy your own rig? Do you own this rig?
I own this one. Yeah, this is like rig number 3 or 4 since I started. I started off with a pickup and a trailer, and then I had a box truck, and now I have a couple box trucks and also a semi. So like a good capitalist, it's always getting more intense. I have.
Are you hiring other people to drive the box trucks?
Virginia, come down. Let's do this.
Amazing, because I will tell you one thing about me. I actually love long haul drives.
Man.
I like road trips are my favorite thing. Like my mom and I used to do road trips together all the time, and that was a poor choice of topic for me. But
yeah, good memories though.
Yeah, good memories. So but yeah, so I love driving long ways. Like we would drive cross country often, and I will still like the reason I've driven through the Dakotas a bunch, which we were talking about before we started broadcasting, is because I would drive from Arizona to Winnipeg. When like Corey and I would drive up here sometimes like to see
15 hours or something.
His family, 19.
Dang, that's impressive.
Yeah. And when I was in my 20s, I did that. I would do it in one day. I would just do it in one shot. But which is not smart at all. But no. I now, like, if I'm driving by myself, I'll do it in 2 days.
Yeah.
But if I'm driving with the child, I will do it in 3 days.
And that's still kind of yeah. I haven't had to do long hauls with our 2.5-year-old yet, but like I think Bree did it last year, and like the screen doesn't hold him the whole time. So it's like, what do? You need lots of play stops.
Yeah, exactly. We found that when we were driving down to Virginia and Georgia last summer, we took Cedar, and we broke it. We took like 5 days to do the drive. And we just stopped for 3 hours in the middle of the day every time. And we did like 3 hours of running around a beautiful park somewhere. Like, and we found so many cool little lakes and stuff, which we were, first choice was national parks, but second choice was state parks. And we just did national and state parks. It actually wound up being mostly state parks because of the route we took. And like we spent 3 hours in a state park in the middle of every day, and it was lovely. And Cedar loved it, and it made it nicer for us too. I mean, Corey was always a little antsy to get back on the road because he just was like, I want to go. And I was like, no, we're just gonna chill. We'll chill for 3 hours. But yeah, it was good. It was a good way to do it. Anyway. But yeah, point being, I love long haul driving, so I actually would not mind that job. I'm also good at saying things to people at a table, but
I think you would be really good at the job. Like, I'm not trying to like snipe you away from your life right here on live YouTube, but if you need a job, let's talk.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of long driving for sure. Because I drive like North Dakota to Washington is 1,000 miles, and I do that like 10 or 11 times a summer. Like, so 1,000 miles one way. So and there's speed limits for semis that don't apply to cars.
And the way stations and stuff.
Yeah, way station stuff. There's a lot of things that suck about a semi, but like mostly that speed limit. Montana was 65. Montana is like 80%.
80 for everybody else.
Yeah, it was 80 for everybody else and 65 for me. So you're just like in this stream of cars going past you.
Yeah.
Felt like it took forever. This year it's 70, and it feels like so much different and wonderful.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. But this whole fruit thing, there's a fruit sign behind me. We can resurrect some better ones. But,
okay.
It's just a weird thing that I fell into because it doesn't take that long. and it feels good to bring people good fruit, and then I can like make ends meet ish and get enough time to really write the rest of the time.
How did you even find it though? Like where did you hear about it? Like, oh yeah, I'm
totally
just gonna like drive a truck from Washington to North Dakota and sell fruit because that's a thing that people obviously do.
Yeah, and it's like truly, it's not a thing that people do. There's one other person in the state of North Dakota that I know of, Laverne Boyko. He's 80 something, and he's not going to like his kids don't want to do it. So it's going to be just me after that. Like there is no professional relationship. Yes, and me. Yes. Yeah, I don't have people that I can talk to about it because no one does it. But okay, and there was also a guy who had a heart attack, Melvin Dittis, with a strong German accent from Miles City, Montana.
Okay.
And he was near my family has a farm in North Dakota. Like that's how the North Dakota thing comes in because I live in Colorado, on which we grow organic vegetables. And that's how I tried to make ends meet the first summer was selling those vegetables at farmers markets. Okay. And we met Melvin Dittis, and he was trying to get out of it and sell his business. And we were kind of like, that sounds kind of whack, but there are a lot of people coming to your fruit stand. And then we traded buttercup squash, which we're very excellent at growing in North Dakota, accept no imitations, also known as kabocha squash for lots of people, which you and I know is silly because it's like
that's squash
in Japanese. And we traded our squash for watermelons grown in South Dakota, and it was so good because we didn't have to grow it. We just like brought it and people bought it. So much easier than doing all the weeding and planting and harvesting. Right. And so I planted the seed, and then I spent that year being totally poor. And at the end of it, I was like still loving writing so much that I was willing to take a risk because I have always been kind of financially risk averse. Like I just always lived on nothing because I knew what I had, and I would rather not like go in debt. I still hate debt, but it's like kind of a part of life now. But I was willing to do it at the end of that because I really, really wanted to keep writing. I knew I wasn't where I wanted to be. So I tried the fruit thing, and this is year number 8 of doing it.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty.
And crazy. It pays the bills for the rest of the year.
It pays the bills. Yeah, I sold 6,000 pounds of fruit of cherries last week. Like. It's crazy.
That sounds like a lot.
If you see it in person, like every time I pick up fruit, I'm like, oh my God, I own all this perishable food. What am I going to do? I still have that feeling 8 years on.
Sure. I mean, it's got to be terrifying every time. It is actually a high risk venture, right? Because
for sure,
there are a number of things that could happen that would totally ruin your entire truck. And
a lot of things.
Just be, oh gosh.
Yeah, especially mechanical failures like that thing, the cooler not working anymore and all the fruit getting hot, or the thing behind it, the semi stopping running, so I can't get through and going. And all of those things have happened. Yep.
I mean, as long as they don't happen for too long, you can recover, right? But like
yeah, totally. Yeah.
But that's gotta be anxiety inducing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But don't get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I would just be working at Best Buy and trying to write books on the weekends. And there are so many people who are writing in addition to a day job, and I have so much respect for them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Well, no, that seems like a sweet gig, honestly.
It's pretty cool, even though you end up in Kellogg, Idaho at Walmart. It's like, this is where I live all summer. It's parking lots even less scenic than this one because they're in North Dakota. I love North Dakota, but it's not really scenic. They have nice sunsets and that's it. But I just
I mean, like Western North Dakota has some really pretty stuff.
That's where I'm
at actually,
too.
Even Eastern North Dakota, there's that one river that runs along the highway that's kind of nice. Like there's some nice-ish moments, but it's a lot of. I shouldn't
badmouth it.
It's a lot of blah. No, I mean, it's okay. I get it. It's like especially when you're driving it 10 times. It's.
Oh man, there was an art exhibit that I saw of somebody I think who was going to school in Fargo, which is on the eastern side, and lived on the western side and had to do that drive back and forth. They just stopped at the same point before each interstate overpass and took a picture, and it was just all those pictures lined up. And the only thing that was different was the number of the exit. It's just like total deja vu for every interstate exit between like Beach and Fargo.
Right.
And so yeah. That's kind of a saying, North Dakota, we love you, but you used to be the bottom of an ocean. And you can
It's true. Well, Manitoba used to be underneath a glacier for a very long time, so it's a very.
That's cool.
It's kind of cool, except it's incredibly flat. It's it was run over by a glacier and it's flat as a pancake.
Yeah, I think Ohio is like that. Like half the state was run over by a glacier and then it stopped, so the bottom half is really hilly.
Yeah, the bottom half is really hilly. I lived in the hilly part for a year.
God, you've lived everywhere.
I
At
have
some
lived in a
point,
lot of
people,
places.
I'm going to interview her and we'll get all these salacious details. It's coming.
Okay, speaking of which, though, so that actually takes us to the next question is, please list all of the countries you've lived in.
Okay, I feel
Because
like
I'm not
I
the
haven't
only one
lived in
who's
that.
lived in a lot of places.
It's true. It is weird that we share, well, I guess we share just two, but we were both born in US and lived in Japan, which is cool. I'm going to say live means more than 6 months. Yeah?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I've just got 3. I've been to a lot of countries, but more than 6 months is going to be the US, Japan, and Uganda.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And 4th place goes to Thailand, I think.
How many months?
But it's only a month and a half. So
okay.
Yeah, not really.
That's really just an extended visit.
It was a couple of, well, yeah, it was a couple of it was basically just a long stay at a monastery.
Oh, cool. That's really neat. Yeah. Like an uchideshi type thing?
I don't know what
only
that
for
means.
monking. So uchideshi is if you are studying in a martial art and you go and live in one of the dojos with one of the masters for a while and just train with them and become kind of like a house slave for a little while you
totally. Yeah, it was like that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I guess I kind of did that at a monastery in Japan too. God, I wish I had martial arts experience. I am dreaming that my kids get into Aikido, especially because I want to learn and have never gotten the time to do it.
Corey trains Aikido, and so we will probably start Cedar on it too. Although I would like her to learn karate first, just because it's quicker to pick up as a form of self-defense. Just yeah, Aikido takes a very long time to be effective enough. A lot of training to become effective enough to actually, deflect an attack successfully.
Totally. I don't know if it's true. It kind of sounds like the mythological stuff our minds spin out. But the guy who first taught me meditation, this German guy, teaching psychology in Kearney, Nebraska, said that he was also a martial arts guy. And he said that for the first year of Aikido, all he learned was falling. And his story is that he got out of his car one night and it was icy in the winter and he fell and he came up facing the car and he was now I've gotten it. And I'm this story is a little too perfect, but okay.
It's not. It's I'm the only reason I'm sure he's not making it up is that the same freaking thing has happened to Corey. And you spend a lot of time practicing falling in Aikido. And I trained a tiny bit in Aikido because when I was training karate, I wanted to do weapons classes, and that's actually how Corey and I met. And so I still had to learn how to do the falls and rolls and stuff. But I haven't done them in forever, and I doubt they wouldn't be second nature to me the way they are someone who actually is training in it constantly. And but Corey was. When we were living in Arizona, he was unnecessary details. The necessary details are he was getting out of a car, walking through a parking lot, tripped over some uneven pavement, and the kind of fall where you would have just splattered your face everywhere or whatever, but he just rolled and stood up. And
it's so cool.
Yeah, exactly. And there were a bunch of people around him who were like, "What?" and applauding.
It's so cool. I want to do that.
Yeah, that part is really neat. And that part you pick up pretty quickly.
Nice.
So that's really cool. And there's,
I can just learn how to fall.
It's good stuff. Learning how to fall is important. Yeah. So very helpful. But yeah, there's some other stuff. Anyway, whatever. I want her to be able to actually fight off an attacker within a couple of years of study. And I kind of want her to learn a slightly more violent martial art to start with, because she's going to be a young girl for a while, and that's unfortunately vulnerable thing to be in our society.
I mean,
and I would like her to learn some dirty fighting tricks that will actually protect her for a while.
Totally.
And then later on, she can learn the Zen, because what I love about Aikido,
the way of loving energy.
Exactly. For the literal translation. But and also that's it's very much about redirecting people's negativity away from you, both physically and mentally. Anyway. So that leads actually very well into my next question, was just
go on.
3, let's talk about Japan.
Let's talk about Japan.
Let's talk about Japan. So how did you end up in Japan?
I ended up in Japan, and this is interesting because Virginia and I lived like right next to each other. I wish that my finger would go over into your side of the screen. We should have practiced that beforehand. We lived in neighboring prefectures. It was so cool. We didn't know. I think not at the same time.
What years were you there?
Like 2003 to 2008.
No, I was there from 2009 to 2011.
See,
so
that's like, I want to say it's because I'm so old, but I think we're not that different in age.
No, you are only 2 years older than I am.
Okay, yeah.
If you're older than I am at all, what year? You just had a birthday.
I just turned 39.
Okay, you're only 1 year older than I am.
That's why you see all the salt.
Yeah, I have
so much
some
salt.
I'm turning 38 in August, so
awesome.
You're a year older.
So I went to Japan. I went to, the main fact is that I grew up in North Dakota, went to school in Nebraska, and read fantasy books because I knew that life had to be better than this and like more interesting. And it just like, it wasn't true. It kept not being true. And it was just like, I need something different and more interesting. And I started, and being a young man and amorously inclined, like I also couldn't find girls that I was interested in. And then like there was these exchange students. So I dated a Japanese girl, and like things kind of naturally went from there. Like in retrospect, hope that Harumi doesn't watch this. I think I was like partially in love with just like the foreignness and interestingness of the culture.
Yeah.
You know, like it was just so different, and I was like just craving anything different. So like, and also I got a degree in literary criticism, which does not lead to a job. So I, like figured out that, hey, if you have a degree in anything and you're like a capable person, you can probably get a job in Japan. So
true story. Yay, JET program. Woo.
Yay, yeah. And I wasn't a JET. I worked for the slave ships.
Which one?
I worked for Eon, a Kaiwan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not as bad as Nova. We all know they closed down because I think they might have been closed down by the time you got there. Do you know about that?
I know about Nova. They closed, I think, as I was looking for jobs. People were like, we're bailing. It's all on fire.
Yeah, man, they had a reputation for just having like teachers who were dating the heck out of their students, etc. At Eon, we kept a very clean profile, like it wasn't bad. But I definitely quit after a year there and worked for an NGO for a while, and then taught at a college for the last year or so. I was there for 4 years.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's how I got there. And then I just like, and then I think I left because I don't know if you got to this point, but I was like accepting that I would always be a foreigner no matter how well I spoke. Like people would always ask the person I was with if the foreigner needed a fork. Even though I said like hashideides, they'd be like, does the foreigner need a fork?
Yeah.
Taijin wa fork no hoga ii desu ka? It's like, no, I can use chopsticks. and
then as soon as you use them, they instantly like, oh, hashi jouzu da ne.
Jouzu desu ne. It's like, all right, don't condescend me. These are not that hard to use. Like,
but it's not. But I will say, it's not always condescending. Some
it's not mean-spirited.
Like there are a lot of people who are actually just really, really excited that you can use chopsticks.
Totally. Yeah.
But yeah.
That's
no, I know what you mean. Actually, I experienced a lot of that too. But interestingly, the twist on that was that we were there during the earthquake in 2011, and we stayed. We didn't like jump ship immediately afterwards. We left in 2011 because we had already decided in February that we were gonna go home that year, and so we left in August when our contracts were up. But we stuck around through all of the Fukushima stuff and the reactor and everything. And it was only at that point that we had a bunch of Japanese people pull us aside and say, oh, you are Japanese now.
Nice.
And kind of mint it. And it was actually interesting to see the way we were like the difference in how we were treated by a number of people at that point.
Yeah. That's interesting to not be told that you're Jozu, but to be told that you're Japanese. When I was leaving at the end, I feel like I got that comment just once from, I had been living with a family for the last 6 months, and mom was crying, which is also like, whoa, we don't do this in public, or really like maybe not at all. It's hard to tell. And she was crying and she said, Levi wa Nihonji mi kana mono deshita. She like said that I was like a Japanese person, and I was like, wow. And I got Jerry too. Let's move on. They're very
No,
sweet people.
that's a hard one. Oh gosh, leaving Japan was so hard. We had made so many amazing friends. And like we made a bunch of local friends and also a bunch of gaijin friends. And it was just like leaving was, oh my gosh, crying for days. Like I don't think I would have left if it hadn't been for my dog. But my dog was with other people and she couldn't join me in Japan because I'm sure you know how hard it is to find housing at all, let alone with a canine.
Right.
And so like those 2 years, my original plan was like, well, I'll go and then I'll find a place, and once we've got a place and jobs and stuff, then I'll bring Artemis over. Like I'll have my mom put her on a plane. I had her chipped and the rabies, everything. Ready to do the pet passport. But it just was like everyone was like, no, you can't get you're a foreigner and you want to bring a pet into an apartment? That's not possible.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I had a Japanese friend in Uganda who got a cat there and wanted to take it back, and even being a national was super hard for him.
I mean, like it makes sense. They're an island. There is no rabies there, so it makes sense. They're very controlled about that. But and so like the quarantine was one thing, but even with quarantine, they were just like, no, you just can't have a dog. Like I mean, most people can't have pets in the apartments there anyway. It's hard enough to find a pet friendly apartment, but to find a pet friendly apartment that will also accept gaijin is like
the
a
Venn
mythical
is
place.
very, very slim. Yep. Totally.
So so it just wasn't gonna happen anyway. And so I was missing my dog. I'm that dog owner. I was like, I'm my best friend.
You guys don't know this, but there's been lots of discussions on our shared finalist thread from Spiffo about how you can kill anyone you want in a novel, but you shall not harm animals. And Virginia and Rob Power are the most passionate about this.
It's true.
We
although
all agree,
no, everyone agrees, and we're the most passionate about it. But I say that, and yet I not knowingly, I mean, like this was years ago, but I actually did kill a dog in book 2.
Oh, no.
I know. And it's
that's how you learned your lesson.
Well, no, it's like no one has commented negatively about it at all, but it's part of, it's demonstrating just how evil this one person is. Well, evil, like morally corrupt, like
man. Like have you seen House of Cards, at least the first episode?
Oh yeah, I've seen House of Cards.
That is such a great illustration of who Frank Underwood is.
Right?
Like, you're worried about this dog and he just executes it. It's like, oh, I mean, an animal murder can be powerful. It's not great, but
no. But yeah, it does gives you an idea. Yeah. So that's and it's a counterpoint too. Anyway, whatever. I'm trying to justify it now. I feel bad about it. I'm like, I shouldn't have killed the dog. Should have done something else. But
you can always retcon.
Well, that book's been out for a long time. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel bad.
I feel bad about retconning. Like I've uploaded retconning people is when we think a book is finished, we just go back and change something because something later has happened. And we, as indie authors, have all the power to do it because we can just always change our books. And
we can if we want to.
You read Beggar's Rebellion a year ago, it's a pretty different book than it is now because I've just continued tweaking it or making major changes, like characters that died don't die anymore, kind of stuff.
Whoops.
But I think it's approaching its final form.
That's good. I mean, honestly, I feel like until you've reached a certain point in terms of numbers of readers, it doesn't really matter. You're like, oh, sorry, I disappointed 100 people, but
right. Yeah, or they're slightly
but hopefully these next 10,000 won't mind,
oh yeah, you mean next month's readers?
Yeah. Boom. Okay, so now we know why you were in Japan. Let's talk Peace Boat. You said you worked for an NGO. Is that the only NGO you worked for, or did you also work for an additional one?
Peace Boat was the main one. I was volunteering for a group while I lived in Sendai. Yeah, but Peace Boat was the one that paid me for a while. Some of it was volunteer, but I was kind of getting paid because I got to take a cruise around the world for free. But I worked in their Tokyo office for a while too. Yeah,
cool.
And I was really dreaming about doing that kind of work when I was in Japan. Like I just wanted to like, I was idealistic and in my 20s and I wanted to like make the world a better place. And I don't not want to do that now, but I have kids. So it's like, I'm going to make it better, starting with you guys, and hopefully my books do something like that.
Right.
But yeah, I worked for them because they were so cool and the thing was so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess like you and I both know, but we should say Peace Boat is a Japanese NGO that charters a cruise ship and takes these 3-month-long voyages that in one route or another circle the earth, usually along the equator, sometimes going really far north or south. And I was a teacher on board 2 of those cruises, teaching English to Japanese people so that they could interact with people that we met, because English, it turns out, is kind of a lingua franca, which is funny that that's not an English term. And I taught for the duration of 2 cruises in their Tokyo office as well.
Cool.
It was cool. That's where like I thought you were going to ask how many countries I've been to, and Peace Boat inflates the number so hard because you go to countries for like a day or 6 hours or a couple days max. Yeah. But you go to a lot of them. So I've been to like 40 now, but it's because I was on a cruise ship.
Yeah. No, sorry. I went with lived in because I
more interesting.
Well, not always. I mean, traveling is very cool too, but yeah, it's a very different experience, I find.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the old expression, like stay somewhere for a month, write a book, like stay for a year, write an article, like live longer than that and say nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it just
that makes sense.
Normal.
That makes sense. Yeah. I could totally see that because what do you?
Yeah, it's just like this is normal. Like why?
It becomes your normal. Yeah.
Why would this thing be worth talking about?
Yeah. But I have found that living in other countries is the thing that has most broadened my perceptions. And I'm like, I started young. My parents moved us to Germany when I was like 7.
Oh man, that's awesome.
But like, the whole like nationalism thing has never been part of my consciousness. Like I've never and I think that's a big part of why. People talk about, the excellence of America or whatever, and that's just, I'm using very specific terms to avoid, but just thinking about like living in other countries makes it so obvious that America has a lot of problems. And I think they should, like, a lot of those problems should be obvious even living in America, but certainly living somewhere else makes it even clearer. You're like, oh, things don't have to be this way. Not that other countries don't also have problems. They certainly do. But just the idea that there are other ways, being fully ingrained because you've just actually lived it for a while is like, okay, I don't know. I found it to be very useful in terms of perspective. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. For instance, I really like the squatty potties of Thailand and Japan.
Yeah, they're pretty great.
People should know that Virginia is an expat. She lives in Canada, that she was born in Missouri. No, you said you were born elsewhere. Where did that come from?
Missouri is one of the few states I've never lived in. No, I was born in Washington, D.C., oddly enough. I
just have to hold back from interviewing you. It's hard.
It's like, these questions that I want to. Yeah, sorry. Yes. Only so we can keep moving forward because we're only on question number 4. Okay.
We're chatty. Do we have a time limit?
No, we don't.
Okay.
We can go for as long as we want. I think an hour and a half is really pushing people's attention spans, but we're only at 45 minutes, and so I think we're golden for now.
Yeah, totally. Halfway done and 3 questions out of like 15 or 20.
Yeah, but the other ones won't all be so in depth. Maybe.
Okay, let's bang them out.
All right. Tell me about your trip to Iceland.
Iceland.
I'm only this jealous.
Yeah, and you're like literally that far. Well, no, I mean, you're at the right latitude.
I'm at a similar latitude, but I'm very far from Iceland. Okay.
Yeah, it's true. There's
I'm actually like, I'm not north of where you are right this second, but I'm north of where you were 2 days ago. Like,
yeah. It's so frustrating we can't get across the border. We're discussing this too. Anyways. I wanted to mention Iceland. We were talking about Manitoba getting crushed by a glacier because Iceland, like the center of it is a glacier. and there's these volcanoes that are like trying not to get crushed, so they erupt underneath the glacier and cause these crazy pyroclastic flows to like smash out the bottom of the glacier.
Whoa.
It's such a dramatic, like geographically
Landscape.
dramatic country.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It was cool for sure. I went there like when I was early in my relationship with my wife, so it was romantic as well. And trips were super cheap because there's a direct from Denver to Iceland.
Nice.
And we lived in a tiny little camper, which was awesome. So we just drove all over.
Cool.
Yeah. But I feel like I didn't connect with Icelandic people very much, like because I think we're living in that camper instead of like living in houses or hostels or whatever.
Okay.
So I have more an impression of the geography, which has definitely come up in my books when I'm thinking of settings. Like it's such an epic setting. I feel like Iceland should be right up there with New Zealand for places to set movies because it's like so epic. Yeah, I really loved it. I regret not taking a algae bath. They have these baths where you just get into like a massive algae and it's good for you. Yeah, and we were gonna take one and it was like lambing season. Everybody was busy like helping their sheep give birth. And we helped, like we monitored some sheep give birth.
That's
but,
awesome.
Like, we didn't get to get in the algae. So yeah.
Win some, lose some.
Yeah, it was great. I encourage people to go and they like can really use the tourist money. So
yeah. It's been high on my list for a long time. We just haven't gotten around to it yet. But we haven't done any big trips in a while. I think the last big trip we did was Scotland in 2013, I think.
Yeah, which is pre-Cedar, right?
Pre-Cedar, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this right now. Like, I scratched my travel itch pretty hard. Now I've been like having children for 3 years. I'm like, can we go somewhere more?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, are both of yours under 2 for now? No.
Max 2.5. Juliet is 6 months.
Okay, so there might still be like one airline you could still get up 2 free in-lap things on, but like because 3 is the cutoff, right? Like as soon as they turn 3, or sometimes 2
I think
is.
some of them are 2. Yeah, Southwest is 2. I have friends who definitely forged a birth certificate to get a last free ride out of their like 2 and something old.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, I've never even been asked, honestly. Like, I mean, for international flights, you have to show their passport, but and that would be the kicker. Yeah, but like once Cedar was no longer able to travel for free, a lot of our bigger travel ideas sort of went out the window. But we've also spent a lot of time visiting family in the last couple of years, which has actually been really important. So, and I don't regret it at all.
Gotta get in that time.
Yep, because it's limited.
It's limited. It's always limited.
Yeah.
Geography can wait.
That's right.
Good food.
Huh?
I was gonna say good food. Like we can't really wait on good food.
I know. Well, luckily, if you go to the right places, even in North America, you can get tastes of all the good food. So
I will say that's one difficult thing about living in North Dakota in the summertime.
Yeah. Though there's a really good Indian place is it in Fargo or is it in Fargo? Huh?
I don't get quite as far as Fargo. I bet they have some good stuff.
They do.
Let's move on.
Okay. Sorry. I've just made you sad.
Well, I just basically eat like that place's food all the time.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
I eat like frozen dinners. I don't have a way to warm them up, so they're just thawed frozen dinners. I can't cook. There's like one restaurant that's gluten-free enough for me to eat at, which is Qdoba, and there's frozen dinner.
What? Like, I'm confused as to why you don't own a Coleman grill.
I do have them. It's like the issue of cleanup. Like work like 10 to 12 hours a day, and then cooking is cool. I love cooking, and then like cleaning it up. Like usually I cook once or twice a summer, and the dishes get done after the season's over.
Oh, man. Okay.
Which limits the cooking because like I got no dishes to use.
Yep, that's fair. Okay. Well, you have my sympathies. Also, okay, we've just been talking about all the places you can go, all the trips you can do. And the next question is, in fact, if you could go anywhere in the world for 3 months, where would it be and why?
Man, for 3 months, like for a week or something, I can think of the exotic places that I wanted to go. But 3 months, like on Rapa Nui would be a long time. I really loved Jordan when I was there, but 3 months might be too long.
Yeah, you have to figure out like where would you like to actually dig in for a bit.
Yeah, I go back to Thailand. I love Thailand so much.
That's a good one.
It's
There's
so
so much.
good. And
I haven't actually been to Thailand yet, but
oh, man.
I am desperate to go there for the rock climbing.
Oh yeah, I bet all those crazy limestone things you can just fall off into the water. I bet that's amazing. Meanwhile, the food is amazing. It's
Yes.
super easy to travel. They have all these cool Buddhist monasteries. They have those cool places. They have beautiful beaches, but mostly the food.
That's totally fair. I love Thai food. Yeah.
Man.
There you go. So you want to eat Thai food for 3 months. If you could pick a place you haven't been to before, like where would you consider going for 3 months that you'd not been?
Man, 3 months. Like I've got a lot of curiosity about Bhutan. Because it's hard to get to.
Yeah.
I'd also like to be able to travel in why is the name escaping me? Burma/Myanmar. Just because it's like pretty exotic. I thought about doing my PhD there if I would have continued with grad school. I wanted to study the Rohingya Muslim violence, but yeah, I think that's but it's probably Thailand.
Okay, cool.
It's Canada, Virginia. Let's do this.
Hey, there's a lot of Canada. You could spend 3 months in Canada and only spend like a day in most of the places you might want to go.
Totally. I think I feel like I'd spend most of my time in BC and whichever this is bad state is right above it. Territory.
Yukon? BC, like north of BC.
The coastal one.
Is that actually the Yukon? Or because Yukon's huge. It might be on top.
Don't be a bad Canadian.
This is bad. No, well, yeah, I know. The thing is, so I've got the provinces down and I'm terrible with the territories, which is not acceptable. I need to do that. So
well, the cruise ship one time like went from Vancouver up to Seward, Alaska, actually twice. And looking off the side of those epic mountains is like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I want to go.
Taurang Wong lives in the Yukon.
Wow.
And has been like, come stay. And I'm like, I am gonna take you up on that.
This is Tao Wong, the fantasy author?
Yes.
Awesome. That's so cool.
Yes.
Oh, I remember him talking in that panel you did about like things being very hard to get, like Amazon taking a long time. And I was like, where are you?
Yeah, and we chatted after that, and it turned out that he was in the Yukon, and I was like, oh my God, I've always wanted to go.
That's so cool.
And he's like, come stay, bring your family. I'm like, all right.
That's so cool.
So yeah. So maybe once COVID has settled down enough, that's on the list of things too. Corey's worried that if we go to the Yukon, we'll never leave, and I think that's fine. Apparently, many musicians are lost in, I think, Whitehorse. Like, they go on tour through the Yukon, and then most of them just never go back. They're like, we're just gonna stay here. Yeah. So I want to check that out. I want to go to the place people don't want to leave. Because if they don't want to leave because it's in the middle of the mountains and it's gorgeous and like that is my jam.
Undiscovered.
Like, I don't care how long it takes Amazon to get there. That is where I want.
Totally. It'd be kind of like having bad cell reception. It's like actually a good thing. Keep you focused on what matters.
Yep. How do you feel travel influences your writing?
That's a good question. I feel like most of that travel happened to me when I was not actively writing, or I was like travel writing. I have a blog that I wrote on for a long time while I was traveling. And since I've been writing fiction, I haven't really been moving around that much. So I feel like it's sort of like blends in with the cultural anthropology thing of like, I saw all these places where things are really different. And then I like formally studied what life is like in places and amongst people very different than us. And I feel like that has a really profound impact because it's really helped world building. And like writing worlds and people that don't like really just kind of end up like America with serial numbers filed off.
Right.
So I feel like that's the main thing. I to date have only written one like journey story. Book 3 in the Resonant Saga is like they're on this epic journey. I feel like that's a trope for fantasy, and like people are always moving around. You get to see the world from that. And I've been writing books that are just like set in a city, and like you don't leave the city. And which is kind of weird because I had so much wanderlust and moved a lot as a kid. I moved 7 times before I graduated from high school. Sounds like we were like that too. Like,
I was
military brats without the military.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like it should come more naturally to me, but maybe for me the fantastical thing is like staying in one place. I don't know. So, but it
That's actually a good
definitely,
point.
yeah, it definitely influences that part. You know, I feel like I can imagine those things better.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe now that I'm starting to get wanderlust because I've been in one place for a long time and like I have small children, maybe like I'll be writing, I'll like travel will
Adventure
start seeming
stories.
more
Yeah.
fantastical.
Yeah.
Main character in main book right now is just about to like cross the wasteland. So.
Oh, okay, cool. I definitely I write like journey-ish stories. Like there's always some amount of movement, because a changing landscape to me is it's the thing I want to be writing. I like. Oh, we lost you, Levi. Oh, you're back.
Oh,
okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. We just dropped image for a moment. But
I was trying to check the power on my phone to make sure we're good.
Gotcha.
And Zoom won't let me see it. So.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
You're fine. Everything's fine.
Yes,
if I lose you,
I'll
I'll juggle for a little bit until we get you.
Okay. They probably actually want to see that. So.
We keep bringing it up, and I don't think I've actually done it on.
In your interview, it's going down. Yep, we are doing this. Notes taken.
I feel like it's gonna be like people are gonna be really disappointed. I can just do like basic juggling. I can't do anything fancy. But
I mean, don't sell yourself short. You have plenty of time to practice before January.
I am not. I doubt that I'm going to have time to practice fancy juggling between now and then. But we'll see. Okay, fine. Let's talk about writing now that we've hedged in there with travel influences. But I'm gonna jump right into like a hard question that is actually kind of annoying.
Ready for it.
Which of your characters is your favorite and why?
Oh, okay. I have a side character named Fainrick, who is super fun to write because he's like body, but he cusses like I'm like sort of known, at least in the Spitfall crowd, for just making up all my cusses, and he's the best because they're all dog related. And he's really fun to write because he's like not wise, but he's old. Yeah. But he's still body, but he's sort of like actually out of the time when his hormones are really raging. So just kind of like a persona. And he's like actually really broken inside. And there's just a couple of times you can see it a little bit. And I love writing him. That's and I think he probably needs his own novella or something. Yeah, I you know, like I like all of my characters, but he's the one that pops to mind. So we're gonna go with him.
Sure.
Fainrick.
Yeah, that's
people have said like
what else are you gonna do besides like a gut feeling? Because presumably you care about all of them. But
if I didn't like my characters, I mean, there's like, yeah, I feel like I'm like don't really write strong villains either. Like I feel like my villains at some point you see why they became who they are, and I have sympathy for them. Like you know, like one of them, like living for millennia would suck. Like seeing your children's children die, you know, like that's no good. So that's why she got so bitter and evil.
Right.
Yeah.
No spoilers. No, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's hard to rate anybody you don't like. I have a problem where if I write a deep enough backstory for my bad guys, I start to turn them into good guys. Like on the inside, totally. I'm like, oh well, they're mean right now, but they're gonna have a redemption arc, or they're gonna have a not right now, kiddo. What's wrong? Sorry, child interrupt.
No, that's all right. Yeah. Yeah. I feel the same way. That basically, I don't really feel like anybody's actually evil, and so it's hard to write someone like that. I have this side project where I'm going to have people who've like kind of chosen to be evil for its own sake. But really that's just desire for power, which like maybe there are reasons why you want that. Right. You know, like, so I think they'll probably end up being sympathetic, but still, you know, like the idea is like as an adult, you can choose what you do with your time. So, you know, like you don't have to give in to your past. Right. Yeah, but I'm totally with you. Like, just don't really believe in villains.
The worst I could do was like bureaucracy is evil. Like, and that you know that forms of government can become pretty evil just through apathy. I mean, like things that start with a kernel of something that's wrong, and then they just like snowball and build and even become like way worse, not because of, I mean, sometimes because of hatred and some nasty emotions, but sometimes just because it's like people are like lazy and they do the things that are bad that they've been asked to do, and this is now the thing that's been done for the last long time, and so they just keep doing it, and you're like, eh. But
totally. You mean like, you know, like some female magic users were kind of bad and they're like, okay, let's practice infanticide. Sound familiar?
That might be part of it, although there's of course there's actually like a deeper, more complicated story there. I have been plotting out some the like 1,000-year ago history, and it's
awesome. I feel like we need a prequel.
Oh, I want to do it. And it was what I meant to be writing right now, and instead I came up with this idea, which I love, the story that I'm telling right now. But it's not the prequel from 1,000 years ago. But it will actually lead to the prequel because one of the characters is an historian, and she's going to uncover this text that's actually going to have been a first person. I'm gonna go like first person young adult for the 1,000-year ago prequel, because
awesome.
Because it's going to basically be this person's journal. I'm really excited, but
cool.
Yeah, but I can't say anything else about it because we're
spoilers.
But, yeah, well, yeah, spoilers.
And I think it's so important to write the one that's calling to you. I'm having a moment right now where I've like got the one that I am 20,000 words deep on, and I got the other one that's calling to me, and actually don't have any time to write either of them because I'm running this business, but I'm feeling like I should write the one that's calling to me, even though it's probably just shiny new object syndrome.
Certainly the 20,000 word mark is generally where I am like, and want to do the new thing.
Something else would be easier. What do I do now?
It's always between like the 20 and 40K mark where I'm like, well, I'm clearly terrible at writing, but how about this new thing? And give up on the current project and move on. But okay, so we talked about your favorite character. That's a cool answer. We talked about villains because that's the cool thing to talk about. And how did you come up with the idea for resonance as a magic system? You may have talked about this in your panel on magic systems, which I still haven't had a chance to watch yet. But...
Oh, no problem. That's the one that I moderated.
Okay, so you might not have.
Yeah, I don't think I did, and it's like worth watching just because I totally lose my train of thought in a moment, and I just like blank as the moderator. It's like this awful moment. So you can have some like Schadenfreude or however you say that word as you watch.
Schadenfreude, yeah, that's all right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, no.
It's a good question. I feel like I kind of started with place first. I was selling fruit in the Bakken oil field, and there was such a mad oil rush in the early 2010s. And so the setting, Ayugan, is a mix between Williston, North Dakota, and Gulu, Uganda, which is another place that I was that was very post-war, like post-Civil War with the Lord's Resistance Army, and that's what I had been studying in school. And so I wanted there to be a commodity that had like really driven people economically, because that was really speaking to me in the Bakken. It was so interesting. And I realized afterwards that probably deep in there was a Frank Herbert influence, because Spice in the Dune series is like acts in a lot of ways like Yura does in my series, although it plays out differently.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so I like wanted this magic system, I think, being influenced by Buddhist ideas where anyone can like awaken or become like, if you're going to put it in magical terms, can become powerful. I feel like it's more interesting and less common to write magic systems where everyone can be magical versus like the chosen few.
Yeah.
And I think they're harder to write too. This is something we talk about in the panel. But so I wanted to do that, but I wanted there to be an easier out for people. So I made this like moss that like makes it so you don't have to do it yourself. Like it'll happen for you, even though it's a weaker version of it. And I feel like from there, I just kind of said like, what would be cool to do, and came up with things. And originally I made 9 that all had second levels. And as I was writing, I was like, this is too much. I cut it to 6. I probably should have cut it to like 3 because it's still too much.
Right.
But it's too late to retcon that now. Yeah. And then really in the second book, I found like I discovered deeper stuff. Like
Mm.
so I wanted there to be a physical cue, and usually it's visual. So I was like, well, let me make something tactile. So it's like when people use their magic, you know this because you're reading it, but
Yeah.
you can't hear it, but you can feel it, like it's
Right.
humming in your bones, even though it's not
Mhm.
audible. And then I started thinking about like the musical implications of that, and what if you like tuned different abilities together, and what would
Right.
happen like if they made different kinds of harmonies.
Yeah.
And so like I think I just have an overactive imagination for that kind of thing. So it didn't come from any one particular place, but like I guess yeah, probably mostly from Buddhism. And I'm super influenced by Brandon Sanderson. I actually have a blog post called like Buddhism, Brandon Sanderson, the birth of the magic system or something, where I think I go into this in greater detail. But
Okay.
yeah, those are probably the main places. And all the fantasy that I've read, because it's all just bubbling around back there, becoming a
Right.
stew that
Percolating.
I hopefully is. Yeah.
That's always true, right?
Yeah.
It's a neat system. I mean, I'm only just getting familiar with it. But
Yeah.
the things that I've encountered so far have been cool.
Thanks.
And yeah, the idea of anyone being able to do it is neat, and is actually man, I can't
give us the spoilers on the new
I
one.
can't. No, I can't say things. There's a whole yeah. This is the thing, like I'm so excited about like the subplots and that I've got going on, and yeah.
It's hard. It's so hard. I'm right there with you. That's why I'd like make it okay to spill the beans to my newsletter reader and just like, hey, look at this cool new thing. And
nice,
like, yeah, I'm pulling some of the punch from the book once you read it, but it's just really fun to share with someone.
It's cool. And like as long as you tag it so that if they care, they don't, get it spoiled against their will, that's fine.
Yeah, or like spoil it so gently that it's just kind of like more like appetizing than like a full meal.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. And then like, wait, there's what? Yeah. That's good. It's good stuff. Diving deeper is fun. This is the thing that I like about series is delving more and more into a world as you go on, and figuring out the additional mysteries and stuff. I find that to be really cool. I like that as a reader, and I like that as a writer too. Like it's cool to explore that stuff. So
yeah, it feels really daunting up front. So I'm writing this like trilogy that's set same planet and different continent. And cool. I really want it to have this trilogy feel tight. Like there's things in the very beginning that get like pulled off in the end without having to like really revise first one, and I'm writing third one.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of planning up front, and I feel like with the Resonance Saga, with that series, I just kind of found that stuff and made it fit. And I feel like it's more satisfying and cool if you know all of it beforehand. But I also don't want to get trapped into like my characters have to do this thing, but like it's meant like really developing world and magic deeply before I start writing, which is fine because I love doing that stuff. And it's easier than writing words because nobody has to read this, so it can be bad.
Exactly.
Yeah. But,
oh man, I love my word count for notes, which I do. I count them towards my like daily word count to.
I go at 50%.
The progress. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yeah, it's so good. Yep, me too. Yeah, I think I usually like the Resonance Saga thing has like a 60,000 word atlas, I call it, which no one shall ever read because it's like full of things that changed.
and bullet notes that don't make any sense to anybody but you, and maybe not even you when you like later when you went back.
Yeah, strange moments of inspiration that you don't remember the context for.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, I'm gonna write down this brilliant idea. What? Was I drunk?
What? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. That is a neat thing, and I'm glad that there's an in-depth blog post to turn people to if they would like more details about the Resonance Saga magic system. Okay, this question I like because it's something that comes up for me a lot as a writer, but I always wonder about other people. Do you have a favorite Easter egg in the Resonance Saga, or any Easter eggs for that matter? And has anyone noticed it yet?
Okay. I think I actually do. Like I haven't intentionally put these in, even though I think it's a cool idea. Mm-hmm. But so I know you're a Hearthstone player, or have been.
That's true.
And I've been a Magic the Gathering player from way back.
Wow.
And I had to come up with a legal system for Beggar's Rebellion, because like you haven't got there yet, but there's a big court case in the end.
Okay.
And, you know, like I didn't want it to be, again, US legal system
Right.
with serial numbers piled up.
Yeah.
So I was coming up with something different and wanting it to make sense and have
Is it a
internal
card
logic.
game?
That would be so cool if it was. It's
you play a
it's
game
not
of
a
Magic
card.
the Gathering, and whoever wins the game.
Which, by the way, oh my God, if you've read the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks, he really has Magic the Gathering in it. Like his entire Magic system. By book 3, he gets away from it, but like, whoa, talk about a heavy influence. It's a wonderful series. I'm not dogging it. It's really good, but he has Magic the Gathering in it.
That's hilarious.
I
Okay,
just have an Easter egg, and I'm not going to reveal what it is.
Okay.
It's a pretty deep cut. Like you've got to know like one of the pantheon of planeswalkers from Magic, and also kind of understand like the rules of the game to get it.
Okay.
And I don't think anyone has gotten it yet. I need to like make some kind of like Ready Player One-esque like Easter egg prize in case people do find it. Like, I guess they get to own my empire. Ready Player One.
Well, maybe just come up with something more subtle, like maybe send them a bookmark or something.
Maybe I send them the card that inspired it. That'd be cool. Okay,
Yeah, that'd be
boom,
cool.
done. If you find it, get a hold of me. You'll get the card, and if you're a true Magic Gathering player, you know it's a pretty good card.
It's a good card.
Anyways.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. That's amazing. My Easter eggs are like weirder and smaller than that. Like that is awesome. And I have actually like, okay, so my urban fantasy series is essentially parody of a bunch of my favorite urban fantasy things. So there are a ton of Easter eggs that are all related to the things that I have snagged. And some of them are super obvious. And some of them are very subtle. There are a bunch of names. Like basically names in all my books are tend to be Easter eggish. Like they are often a translation of something, and then they're just little things that it's like, I've had my Japanese friends read my Gensokai books, and then they're like, oh, I love that, you know, like I asked, I was like, did the naming seem weird to you? And they were like, no, it makes sense. Like these people are named like a bunch of people are named after animals. That's fine. Like, but most of my characters' names are animal based. And I tend to pick animals that I think reflect their personality. And so that's a thing in the Gensokai books. And then there are like anything else in there is probably super obscure. But in the urban fantasy series, I know that it's there. I doubt anyone else will ever find them. But in the urban fantasy series, there are some more obvious ones, but I'm waiting for people to find them, because basically it just depends on how much urban fantasy you read to be able to there are layers of jokes and of references and then some like just Easter eggy things.
Well, I totally want to read it, but I haven't read much urban fantasy, so I probably won't get it. But I do note that your main character's last name is an animal.
That's true.
Victoria
that
Marmot.
one's not even subtle. But that one is
she
also
Marmot-like?
No, that one's actually a total joke. Because marmots, there are reasons that her family had her family had to like pick a different like they had to just pick a different last name because they were hiding from people. So Marmot isn't her real last name. It's the last name that she has known and thinks it's her real last name, but it's not actually. But her parents chose it, and her parents chose it as a joke because snow leopards eat marmots. It's like one of their favorite meals. And that's all I'll say for now. But that's funny.
See, that's the tantalizing spoiler where it's like you just want to know more.
Like, why is that funny? I mean, and it's not that funny, but it's funny.
No, it's funny. You need to read this, people.
But someone asked a question on Goodreads, like, you know, like the Goodreads asked a question about this book, was like, why is the character's last name Marmot? I can't take her seriously at all. And I was like, this is a comedy. You're not supposed to take her seriously. And in fact,
is okay.
Her name is a joke. Like, so yeah, I just thought that was funny. People are weird. Okay. Where is your favorite place to go backpacking? That's like out of left field now. We're no longer talking about writing. We're back to talking about the wilderness.
Okay, I thought you were asking like in my mythical setting that I've created, where would I like to go backpacking?
No, we're done. We're done talking about writing. We've exhausted it. We're moving.
Totally. There's nothing more to be said. Like this has been you know, like an advanced level course on how to write good fiction. I will say that like Brie is the more avid backpacker than me. So she's done more than I have, but we've been to beautiful spots for sure. I'm gonna say the place that I want to do more backpacking in. Man, I love our Front Range mountains in Colorado, but Southwest Colorado is where it's at for like gorgeous, epic, stunning peaks. Yeah, and I have only done a few overnights there, and I would like to do something more epic for sure. So there's that, and I would like to spend more time in Glacier National Park if it wasn't like quite as busy and quite as grizzly, because damn, there's a lot of grizzlies. I mean, I think the Canadian side is even worse, but like it just, so I was basically in those mountains last night. I was in Superior, Montana. And after dark, I don't even know if grizzlies are nocturnal, but when I can't see them, it's so much scarier. I'm like, does anything smell like food? I need to get back inside my car, but the fire's so nice. Like, yeah. So grizzlies are kind of scary. So I think we'll go Southwest Colorado, because Southwest Colorado is gorgeous and there's no grizzlies.
That's right.
Yeah, black bears, not just scary. Little mountain lions, if they kill you, you're done already.
That's right. It's just
coming. It's
not going to take very long.
Yeah, you're not going to get mauled like that scene from The Revenant. Oh God.
Fair. Okay. Fair. I mean, except I don't think the grizzlies are that into mauling people most of the time.
Probably not. Yeah. It just would be so hard for me to lay down and play dead. I would be so afraid. I was trying to imagine how I would do it last night. I'm like sitting and watching this campfire. I'm like, so do I fall over? And if I fall over like kind of into the fire, like it's really going to hurt. And can I keep playing dead if I'm burning? You know, like the logistics of playing dead are hard, because like you both have to believe in the fiction of you were standing and then you fell down, but now you're dead. It's like, grizzlies aren't going to fall for that. I'm like, you're still alive in there. I'm mauling you. Pretty sure. I thought this through pretty thoroughly last night.
Yeah, you really seem to have spent some time on it.
I'm proud of myself for not like running into my semi and being all done. I stayed out, but I knew that I was gonna get mauled if they found me because I'm a bad dead actor.
I'm just picturing you like freaking out, pretending to play dead and like twitching a whole bunch or doing something weird, and the grizzlies like looking at each other.
He's like, dude, I just want these frozen Walmart dinners. Like, I'm cooler. Like, chill.
I'm here for the chips. Like,
yeah, like I'll just eat these. Like, if you can just lay there, that'd be fine. Because I was partially thinking about like when you're sitting in a chair, like you don't get up, so you got to like make the chair tip over, and that's even more awkward. So, you know, like, or do I play dead in the chair or something? Then
you have like a big metal thing. I think maybe just lay still.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty comfortable way to play dead. Like, I happen to die sitting in this chair, so I'm going to be comfy while you think about mauling me.
I don't think the grizzly's main goal is to maul you. Its main goal is to just like eat your cereal.
Get those frozen dinners.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So.
Oh, he's got some kombucha in here. Excellent.
Yeah, right. They're like, oh, nice. Haven't had this in a few weeks.
I really like GTs better, but okay.
Okay. Weak sauce, but we'll take it. Okay, cool. Have you camped in the Maroon or gone backpacking in the Maroon Bells at all?
No, I haven't stayed overnight. Definitely did a really epic hike with Bree while she was like, I can't remember how many months pregnant, but like it was probably shouldn't have been there. But it was so gorgeous. I've been on both sides of like the, I think there's like a 4-pass loop that you can do. And I've been on both sides of it and gone way up in the Maroon Bells, and they're beautiful for sure.
Yeah, they're so
gorgeous. It's so nice to like be at the bottom of the main entrance and have all these people and then just like gain a couple thousand feet in altitude. Is like, now I have these mountains to myself.
Yep. Except for, I don't know about you, but I had one woman pass me who was basically just like running, and she just like ran up the pass.
Colorado.
I know, right?
You get those trail runners that make you feel so bad because like, step 2 breaths, and like, and you're like, what? Yeah.
But Colorado trail running, like in the peaks, right? Like it takes it to a whole nother level. Like I'm a trail runner.
Yeah.
But I also wasn't a trail runner when this woman passed me, and I was like, I'm an asthmatic, and even when I trail run, I am slow AF. But like she was just trucking, and she was just like, and I saw her like go up and over the pass, and then I don't know where else she went, and then she came back when I was still just like, like a half mile closer. And so
Man.
she was on like some 20-mile trail run, just that's her evening run before she goes off to do whatever she's doing for the rest of the day.
Yeah, totally.
And
she's got a meeting after this.
yeah, exactly. It was a beautiful thing, really. But I was I was like 22 and just kind of like
Yeah, I mean,
you just
Bree, my wife,
destroyed me.
yeah, my wife made me feel like this. The first or second year that we were together, she trained for the Imogene run, which goes from Ouray to Telluride.
Oh, nice.
This epic road that like isn't even open, and it climbs 9,000 feet and then drops 5,000
Yeah.
in the course of like, I don't know, 20 miles or something. And so she was doing those like 20 plus mile, like high altitude runs.
Yeah.
Like,
oh man.
and it's like,
She
honey,
sounds like
let's
a
go for a
candidate
run
like,
together. And I'm like, yeah, like I don't want to hold you back.
Yeah. That's
yeah.
Yeah. I love trail running, but I am definitely a tortoise. Like I can go for a long time, but I go very slowly. But I'm okay with that. That's totally I am now at peace with that. When I was like 20 and that woman like ran past me when I was like gasping up the side of the mountain, I was not okay with it.
I feel like that when I'm riding bicycle, like especially in Boulder, it was a thing that like so many people riding bicycle, and like if people just like totally blast past you, like you feel bad. You're like, hey, I ride bike a lot. I should be able to kind of keep up. But you're like, but the thing that felt good was when they're wearing all the spandex and they got the like multi-$1,000 bicycle and you blast past them. It's like, yeah, I got my used bike, wearing my clothes for school. See you later.
I really enjoyed, I did a half marathon in Sedona. Well, I did it twice while I was living there. And the first time I did it, like the Sedona Marathon is pretty popular and a lot of people come from around everywhere to do it. And but I lived in Sedona, and so like super hilly and training. Yeah. And I trained on trails, and the whole marathon is actually on well, not the whole marathon. The full marathon is half trail, half pavement. But the half marathon, which is what I was doing, is entirely pavement. And I had trained there like for, months, and because I lived there. And so then, and I suck at hills. Like I'm terrible at hills. They kill me. But
yeah, they're awful.
The out of towners are way worse at hills. And so totally. I ran that half marathon and passed a bunch of people going up all the hills. And I was like, yeah, I'm amazing. And I was like,
so many,
still super slow. But
yeah, but you had that, like, I feel like you kind of become superhuman living in high altitude. Like you just drink people under the table.
Yeah.
Like you go to like zero altitude. Like I've taken some trips to Mexico from Colorado. It's like, let's run forever. Like, let's drink forever. This doesn't matter.
So much oxygen in my blood. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm feeling high just from oxygen.
It's pretty good. Yeah. That was my favorite thing about living in Colorado, was like going anywhere else and doing something active, just like destroying people. Great. Yeah. I actually think it has had like lifelong effects. I think it's actually easier for me to do stuff at altitude still, even though I haven't lived in Colorado for years. Because I lived there for years and was really active while I was there. I have no scientific evidence to back that up. It's purely anecdotal. But, but I was like the only one who didn't get altitude sickness or like mild altitude sickness when we were climbing Mount Fuji in Japan.
Oh man, yeah. I feel like I still retain some genetic disadvantage from being born in North Dakota and living like most of my youth there. Like, I think I'm getting over it, but I don't like, altitudes are still a little bit hard.
Yeah. Interesting.
Flatlander.
Okay. This is a really important question. If you were a fantasy animal companion,
okay,
what would you be and why?
So I was having a fun time looking up all the like national animals of countries with my brother the other day, and a lot of them are mythical, and I was like, damn, it's so cool to have a mythical creature as your national animal,
right?
Well, like Canada's is pretty like silly, isn't it, as I'm recalling, like a badger or something?
If it's probably not a badger, it's either a loon or a beaver.
It's a beaver. Yes. Okay. That's what it was. It was a bee. It was a small furry bee.
Yeah, if it was a furry bee, it was a beaver.
Yeah.
It's the primary export of Canada for ages. So like.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Beaver fur.
That makes total sense. Mm-hmm. How you doing? No, I'm gonna keep these. Just talking to a random trucker.
As you do.
Yeah. So
So beavers, no. So mythical,
probably not beaver. Yeah.
you wouldn't be a beaver.
I think I like mythical feels like writing freeform poetry where there's just like too many possibilities. So I'm not going to go there. The thing that again got reaction is squirrel.
Squirrel.
I always loved squirrels. They feel pretty magical to me, even though we've had some squirrel hate on our finalist thread recently. But like they can do so much.
And so much
Especially if you're a flying
damage. That's
squirrel.
why people are,
Oh, they can do damage. Yes. Like I can be a very powerful spirit animal. But yeah, I just like because they can like perch on a shoulder happily and they've got like evil claws and they can climb anywhere, you know, like as a animal companion, like I can infiltrate
climbing.
places.
That's a good
and,
point.
like,
They're small,
get
they can
away.
squeeze into tight spaces.
Yeah, and they're cute. I could like charm people if they didn't know what squirrels are, because nobody's charmed by a squirrel actually, because they're like, you're an evil rodent. But yeah. But
sorry,
you
that
know,
was
in a
my
different
squirrel
cultural context.
impression. I don't know if it was very good.
No,
had the
I
teeth out.
totally. Yep. I was like, why am I talking to a squirrel right now? Where did Jimmy go?
Good. Yes.
Yeah, I think I'd be a squirrel. Just I feel like they're already magical, and then if you give them some kind of spirit companion stuff, I really want to write like spirit animal companions. I haven't done that yet, and
You want to
I feel
write
like
animal
they're a lot of fun.
companions?
Mhm.
That'd be cool.
Need to do it.
So did you specify flying squirrel or just regular squirrel?
You know what? I feel like regular squirrel is good enough.
They practically fly as it is. Did you watch that video about the dude who overbuilds everything and he wrote, because he's like a he's like an aerospace engineer, but he's like, oh, I'm doing funny YouTube videos. So he built a crazy obstacle course, like a ninja warrior obstacle course for the squirrels in his backyard to get to the bird. But what the coolest thing about watching it was just like how amazing squirrels are at just jumping over stuff and always landing on their feet like cats.
Man, yeah, like they run past my like writing space a lot, and they're just they're just balanced on the top of like a 1/2 inch wide like fence planking. No big deal. Like stop, turn around, all good.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, squirrel, solid choice. Not what I was expecting. Not that I was expecting anything, but I was not expecting squirrel.
You're expecting lion.
Hey, maybe
moose.
I don't know. I was expecting
bear.
something else, but squirrel is solid. No, I like it. I like
Thank you.
You've done there.
Yep, they've always kind of been a spirit animal for me.
Excellent. Except try not to use spirit animal as a term.
Excuse me.
No, sorry. I hate to do that, but I feel like in our current climate to need to be as careful about our wording with that as possible. But there are a number of people that I know that take that very seriously, and that is part of their cultural heritage, and they don't like it when we use that expression. So
good to know. I hadn't even heard that before.
No, there you go. Then I'm happy to have said
animal
that.
Companion.
Animal companion, yeah.
That's the word for them in Boulder anyway. Take your animal companion. They're not bad.
That's right. Yeah, you just got your dog with you. You take your cat to the pub. Yeah. So
next hard-hitting question.
The next hard-hitting question is, where do you get your ideas? I'm just kidding. I hate that question. But rather, let's talk about creativity and the way it intersects with life. What activities, settings, places, etc., help you come up with ideas and solve problems creatively?
I feel like I have two. One of them is just boredom, just like real boredom to churn things over in my mind, which is where the long drives come in. The inspiration for my first novel came while I was doing a long distance. So I did this bicycle trip from Hokkaido to Shikoku.
Oh yeah, and that's awesome.
So yeah, it was a long time, and it was like in the days before podcasts or even really smartphones. So it was just silence.
Yeah,
I learned a lot of kanji doing that, but I also, because a lot of times it has the English underneath, and after a while, like you see Mizu enough times, you're like, yep, that's the symbol for water.
Yeah.
But I also basically plotted an entire Conan fan fiction novel, just riding my bike, because I had so many times to go over it and polish it and think about all this stuff. And that's kind of always been the case. When I get really bored, I get creative, and I think that comes from a past of living in very culturally not interesting places. There's no music humming, there's no new food, there isn't there isn't outside stimulus. I feel like I would get bored and I'd get creative to handle it.
Nice.
Yeah, and the other one, funnily enough, like this idea that like creativity is combining two unlike things. You know, like some people say that. And for me, a lot of times I'll be, especially in the beginnings of books, I'll be reading other people's books and I'll get really excited because they give little hints of the magic system of the world and be like, oh, it's going to be this, it's going to be so cool. And they don't do it. And I'm like, now I can do it. And I just like get so
open for me.
Yeah, I get so inspired by other people's like hints that don't turn out to be true. And I'm like, well, I guess that's my idea. So
nice.
There's a lot, like I have a big journal of stuff that's just like, yeah, things I've thought of reading other people's books. So other fantasy authors are a big inspiration for sure. And sometimes not fantasy, but yeah, I don't know. I've been reading outside the genre a little bit. I read a Jack Reacher novel recently, and I don't know that I got any cool ideas from it. I just disagreed with his portrayal of pickups in Wyoming because I know the topic fairly well. I'm like, nobody's got a tricked out Honda, dude. Like, it doesn't happen. The Ridgeline is not a man's pickup in Wyoming. Just cultural context. So
that's really interesting.
Lee Child is British, so we can't blame him for that. He did a pretty good job.
He tried.
Yeah.
He tried.
It didn't inspire me to like make a pickup based magic system, though.
Well,
which look at this.
That would be
right
there. You go.
Box.
Oh, hey.
That's a man's pickup. It's a Chevrolet. That's what people think in North Dakota, anyway.
Okay, I did not realize that pickups were gendered. That was not something I was expecting.
Yeah, I feel like in North Dakota, no, it's really cool when women drive pickups too, but I feel like for men, there's sort of like a body avatar because often you're not in the shape that you want to be, but like your pickup is your body. Wow. So like if you have a full size, let's start there because it's good. If you have a diesel, that's much better. And then if you have like top trim line, if like on Ford, like if you've got the King Ranch, if you got like the LTZ and the Chevy, like then you've got a stellar body, basically. This is something that I know. Okay. From studying in cultural anthropology and like spending a lot of time in parking lots in North Dakota,
right?
I could probably write a lot about like pickups as cultural metaphor.
So I'm hearing that maybe like a pickup avatar book might actually not be. Okay, yeah. Transformers. That is both really interesting and simultaneously not interesting to me at all.
Yeah, I mean, so in the first iteration of Fruit Business, I had like a Chevy that was like, it was a symbol that could be read in particular ways by men. And so when they would pull up, they would look at pickup and then look at person and be like, okay, so it is a diesel, but it's an LT, not an LTZ. And then after a year or two, it's not current body style. And then I would get placed on the hierarchy of value. And I was like, this sucks. I am not my pickup. Like, of all the mantras to need, like, I'm not my body, I'm not whatever, like, in North Dakota, I have to say, I am not my pickup. And so I was really glad when I got a box truck because nobody knows, like, what a good Freightliner is. Right. And then when I got a semi, like, other truck drivers are still doing this to me. It's like, it's not a Kenworth. You don't have a K600. And like, no, but it's such a small crowd and I don't really care as much. Like my customers don't see it. So I don't have to deal with like the symbolism as much. So I'm very glad to not be driving the pickup anymore.
That's just.
But if I did drive a Honda, I would not be a badass farmer or rancher in Leach County.
Yeah. Because it's not American, I assume.
It's not American.
Yeah. That is such a weird insight that I never expected to gain into Midwestern culture.
Previously, we were talking about how in Manitoba and North Dakota, people go to the lake. This is what they do. This is the expression. Yeah. And we're both like, what lake? People always go to the lake. Even in North Dakota, there are many lakes to choose from, but they never say, I went to Lake Chida. I went to Lake Sakakawea. They went to the lake.
They went to the lake. They went to the lake for the weekend.
Like there's just one. And
you're allowed to ask. You're allowed to ask which lake, but it is. Yeah. But no one cares really which lake, unless it's the same lake that they live on. Or
you went to body of water. Yeah. I don't know any. Yeah. I haven't got to go deeper in that conversation because I don't know the bodies of water well. Unless it's like Indian Creek Dam, which is near a farm, and nobody goes to that lake because it's nasty.
Okay, fair.
It's almost an algae bath, to be fair. maybe I can get my Iceland itch scratched with
Do it.
Indian Creek Dam, because your feet sink in like a foot. It's it's half cattle pond, half dam lake. So, yeah, a lot of bovine
cow
feces in there.
Yeah.
Not great.
Well, that sounds less fun than, this next question. So,
Okay.
what is your favorite non-standard, non-North American medical practice? Or standard, but non-North American?
Okay. Man. A lot of things come to mind, like how generally less medication was used in Japan. Like I got some wisdom teeth pulled there, and I'm glad to be less medicated, even though it hurt a lot. And there was a lot of things going on in Uganda that were interesting. Like when I had a condition, like there was no doctor, so I went to the pharmacist who had been a lab tech and opened his own pharmacy. And so I'd say like, hey, I think I probably I've been living here for a year and a half. Maybe I have intestinal parasites because it's pretty common. It's like, okay, so you can get this one is made in South Africa. It's pretty good. Or you can get this one made in India. It'll probably work. Or this one is from Europe. And it's the same medicine from 3 different places with a better chance of working and a different price tag. And he was like just discussing like, and then this one's like from Kenya, probably just sugar water. Like,
okay. So, all right. So actual differences, not just like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. But I want to say
very different price points, I assume.
Different price points. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you have malaria, it's like, give me the European one. Right. When you have maybe have intestinal parasites, like I think I went India. I went mid-grade. And it was very delicious, minty flavored sugar water. And it was like, okay, drink half and then drink half the next day. And I took it, he's like, no, never mind, drink all of it right now. And I'm like, okay. But what actually came to mind was the practice of using kerosene to get rid of chiggers. I thought, okay, God, there's so many things. And then like the practice in the Lord's Resistance Army, this is something I learned like interviewing people who had escaped from it.
Oh, wow.
They carried Quikrete around because if you got a bad wound, they don't have super glue or bandages, but you can put Quikrete, like concrete, into the wound to close it.
Wow.
So, and kerosene works good for disinfecting like the area around toenails where chiggers have been. So it's like not cool herbs and stuff. It's full on like we're using industrial things to fix our bodies.
Wow. Okay. Those are interesting insights. Yeah. I mean, you use what you got, I guess. So
totally. Yeah. And I've never tried the Quikrete one. Like I did do the kerosene one, and obviously I did the like different country manufacturer medicine one. Yeah. And they worked, I think. I don't think I have parasites now. I went back to America and I was like, can you check for these? Like, we don't even know like how to start. Like they actually just told me no. I was also like, do I have malaria still living in my bloodstream? Like I don't know.
We don't test for it.
I was really worried about a relapse. I was like, like, because that happens with some like Vivax, like will come back years later because it stores in your fat. And I knew that it was mostly falciparum in the area where I lived, but I didn't know what I'd gotten and they couldn't tell me.
Couldn't tell you.
No relapses like 10 years on, so I'm probably good.
Probably fine.
Hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah, because if it does happen, where am I getting medicine? Like in Kellogg, Idaho, or really anywhere? Like, why do we still have Larium and stuff to like sequester?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe if you get to a big enough city, maybe they've got it just because of travel. But
I wanted to just buy medicine to have on hand, but
right. Yeah, I'm not sure. I was living in Germany when we traveled to Kenya, and so we took anti-malarials before we went. And then I don't think we took anything else while we were there.
Wow. How long were you there?
Just like a week, I think.
Okay.
Or a week and maybe 10 days.
So you probably took Larium. Did you get crazy dreams?
I don't recall. I was 8. So
right.
I had crazy dreams my entire childhood. I don't think I would have noticed.
Yeah.
Like, I had messed up dreams all through childhood. So I don't, yeah. But yeah, we we did like 3 days in Nairobi, and then we did a safari, and then we went home. And I don't
Nice.
like.
And you didn't get malaria?
We did not get malaria. No. But I could not donate blood for 10 years after that.
Totally. Yeah, I
Just
feel like I've
because
just
of
gotten out of
potential.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said that my blood was pigmented. And I was like, that is a really interesting term.
What color?
I don't know. Yeah, I know. I got malaria so many times at the lab tech. I came in sick. I was like, I think it's malaria. He's like, you read the slide. So he took my blood, made a slide. He's like, okay, look, see if you can identify. I was like, I don't know. I want you to tell me for sure I have it and give me the drugs. He's like, no, you can do it. Like, take a look. And I was like, well, I think it's also like, yes. Yeah, I guess I can diagnose myself now with the use of a microscope. Like,
That's pretty
very
sweet.
Disturbing to see the
That's
active like.
That's disturbing, but that's also
blood.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I wonder.
That's
if
a useful skill.
Yeah, I hope I don't have to do it anymore. We need to just get rid of malaria. God.
It would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those diseases that like isn't economically important to get rid of.
Right.
You know, like they feel like everybody's scrambling to make this vaccine for Corona because it's going to make so much money. Among other things, there are good reasons too. But like, yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, it is. It's a bummer. As a globe, we do not do a very good job of balancing those.
Right, the diseases that disproportionately affect like economically impoverished areas.
And
like,
then we're just like, oh yeah, that's a bummer. I mean, we could totally afford to fix it, but
we probably could. Yeah, I mean, we like built the Panama Canal back in the day. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Once it was useful to us. Yeah. Colonialism sucks, kids.
Yep. I read about colonialism a lot because it sucks.
It does. It sucks.
It's a good source of conflict.
It's
And it's our heritage.
It is our heritage, and it's the worst. Yeah.
We're getting into dark times. You did find some hard-hitting questions.
I did. Sorry.
Who knew the medicine was going to go there?
I didn't. I was not necessarily thinking that. I'm going to pull us back a little to something a little bit lighter, and it's the last question. Yes. We got there. Okay. What is the movie that you most often quote with your friends?
Probably Wayne's World. Yep. I like personally, me and my sister might be more heavily weighted towards Grease, but Wayne's World is the friends lingua franca, and at home right now it's Moana big time because Mac loves Moana. Nice. But I feel like all-time historical amount of quotes is Wayne's World, and there's so many good ones.
That's solid.
Yeah.
Wayne's World does have a lot of good quotes. I have yeah. Mike Myers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed Wayne's World back in the day. I still quote Princess Bride more than anything, but like I don't know how to replace that movie.
I mean, yeah. So I'm not actually very movie literate, and Darian kind of freaked out on me because on our finalist chat, wow, Darian lives and like he's like viewing the world through the lens of Princess Bride, and I actually haven't seen it before. I know, so it's almost like I'm saving it because I know it's so good, and because I've heard like literally half the movie from other people now. It's going to be kind of like reading the Bible was when I got around to it. I was like, that's from the Bible too? Like Princess Bride is like the biblical ancestry of so much fantasy. And
that's fair.
Our areas of geekery.
There is also the book, and the book is actually excellent.
Oh, really? And I didn't know there was a book.
There's a book, and it was in fact written before the movie. But the thing is, the author, oh God, I've forgotten his name. He also wrote the script for the movie.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And he is in fact, mostly known for writing scripts. He's written a lot of good scripts for a lot of good movies.
Wow.
Now I really wish I could remember his name. I have a copy of Princess Bride sitting here somewhere. I could grab it and check, but you know what? I'm not going to.
Yeah.
But
it's a quick Google away.
Yeah, people can look it up. But at any rate, he did a great job writing the book. He also did a great job turning that book into a movie. I think that in my mind, that's why the movie is so good, is because it was written by the same person. The same way that the Good Omens series was so good.
Oh man,
because
it was so
Neil
good.
Gaiman was not only wrote the script, but he was a showrunner, and you're like, okay, yes.
Yeah, and it was like an homage to Sir Terry Pratchett.
Yeah, exactly.
Who would have loved to see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good series. That was some of my Survive the Summer last summer. I always need to find like television shows to like shut my brain off when like too much work, and Good Omens was a big part of it. It was
Good Omens is
so
solid.
sweet.
Have you watched The Witcher yet?
This is crazy. I haven't watched episode 10. That was some of my like having child, like having baby and also toddler. Like things were hard the last 6 months, and I would like allow myself a portion of a Witcher episode, which is like the 20 minutes that I got to myself before sleep was really required every day. It was Witcher for sure, and I loved it. And I started to have second thoughts about like, someone has pointed this out, and I'm just going to call it out, that yes, the like cover design for my books was inspired by the US cover design for The Witcher. If you look at them, it's kind of like, oh, because I thought when I was looking for covers that I liked, Blood of Elves was so good.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I love it. And I'm just going to take that red banner and use it.
That's fine.
It's not the same red banner, but yeah, I feel like I'm kind of misleading people because my books aren't very Witcher-esque.
Not that I have noticed. They don't seem particularly witchery, but
yeah. But man, I love the concept. I want to read them.
That's fine. It's a good cover. I actually like your covers, and like honestly, who cares if it's somewhat similar to another cover? Like I don't really think that's much of a thing.
There's only so many like Warriors, Castles stuff that you can do that says fantasy that doesn't look just like everybody else's.
Yeah, and like you can, like, you know, as long as you're not straight ripping off somebody, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think it has now been we've done an hour 45.
Awesome.
So I'm gonna say
we made it.
That's the end. We also answered the last question. Good job. And hopefully people will come watch this. We had 4 people watching live. We don't seem to have any live questions.
Okay.
But just a big hello to Misty 306, who shows up to all of our stuff.
Misty.
And Misty's amazing. We love her. And AF Stewart is here also.
Oh, hey there.
Yeah. So
CornCon homies.
Yeah, woohoo. So they're here, and apparently 2 other people who haven't said hi. One of them might be me because I have this up to monitor things. So
hey there, secret watchers.
Yeah, secret lurkers. But thanks everybody for coming to watch, and thank you, Levi, so much for being here and giving me almost 2 hours of your time.
Oh man, my pleasure. I was looking forward to it so much.
Yay! It has been a pleasure. So I'm just gonna swipe over here and click this big end stream button. But thank you everyone, and we will see you. Let's see. Oh, the next interview is either JC Kong or Alicia. I can't remember who's coming up first.
Awesome.
So Alicia Wansell-Burke or JC Kong. They're both awesome. I'm very excited to interview both of them, and those are coming up in the next. They're coming up next week, and after that, sometime, I think in early July, we're gonna have the very elusive Robert
Power. Yeah. So exciting. He is an elusive man.
He is. Mm-hmm. Does not show up for the social media very often, but we're excited, very excited to have him. Also, Lisa Cassidy will be joining me at some point between now and October. We're not sure exactly when. And that's what we've got lined up for now. And I'm hoping to add even more awesome people after that. But Levi, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you everyone else for being here. We will see you next time for CornCon Cubed. I hit the end button.